is
It
golden.
was the hour where the night is
We
golden.
were sitting at the pub talking about art.
And we were
faith,
sitting at the pub talking
really
about
just
art
making
and faith.
jokes about
But
Moxie.
really just making jokes about
The
Moxie.
whole time we were
The
thinking
whole time
of reasons not to
we
quit.
were thinking of reasons not to
Hoping
quit.
none sounded too convincing.
Hoping none sounded too convincing.
Little is worthy of perfection.
Little
Leaf
is
bed
worthy
of
of
a garden
perfection.
hiding
The
place.
leaf bed of garden hiding
Sleeping
place.
with eyes open.
Sleeping with eyes
The
open.
resonance of spruce and maple.
And the resonance of spruce
Name a few
and maple.
things.
To name a few things.
Somehow, free beers kept coming.
Free beers kept coming.
Sovereign and uncomplicated good.
Sovereign and
Our
uncomplicated
faces were Christmas
good. Our
red.
faces were
And
Christmas
got redder
red.
as we laughed
And
at
got redder as we
imagined
laughed.
pickup lines from
And
American men with
Pickup
Celtic
lines
knotwork
from American
tattoos.
men with Celtic knotwork tattoos.
Suddenly, the place felt like home,
The place felt like home,
which is to say we felt captive in it.
which is to say we felt captive in it.
Mahogany slanting inward.
The mahogany slanting inward.
Secondhand smoke that moments
And the
ago
secondhand
an
smoke
aging marine
that
held
moments
tightly
ago
beside him.
an aging marine held tightly inside him.
A beacon in the crowd.
A beacon
Here,
in the crowd.
it seemed okay to hate yourself.
Here
as
it seemed
long
okay to
as
hate
you
yourself.
did not say so.
As long as you did not say
As
so.
long as you chose some pieces to tear
As long
and
as
did
you
it
chose
quietly.
some pieces to tear and did it quietly.
One of us said something.
One of
Maybe
us
just
said
thought
something. Or maybe
About
just thought
truths
something
you cannot repeat.
about truths you cannot repeat or
Play
unsee.
the game where you flip the coaster and
Play the
catch
game
it.
where you flip the
midair.
coaster and catch it.
Still
Midair.
talking about trauma.
Still
and
talking
risk, whether
about
feeling
trauma
whole
and risk.
surprise in case.
And whether feeling whole or surprised in a
That
case
breaks the fall.
or something that breaks the fall when you let go.
Rain seemed to be listening. He was
Rain
famous,
seemed
of
to be
course, for
listening.
his unwanted
He
advances.
was famous, of course, for his
The cigarette
unwanted
cloud
advances.
around him shimmered
But
in
the cigarette
Irish
cloud
stained
around him
glass.
shimmered in an Irish stained glass sort of way.
The openings in the gutters,
And the
black
openings in the gutter
alcoves
and the black of
appeared
the
to widen,
alcoves appeared to
as if
widen,
making a confession
as if making a
language
confession
we had
in a
forgotten.
language we had forgotten.
Was the hour? The night is
It
golden.
was the hour where the night is
We
golden.
were sitting at the pub talking about art.
And we were
faith,
sitting at the pub talking
really
about
just
art and
making
faith.
jokes about
But
Moxie.
really just making jokes about none sounded too convincing.
Hey y'all, welcome to Rage, Cellista's Rage. I am your host, TVMA, and I am going to be walking you through this journey today. But first I'm going to play a little music for you, so I hope you enjoy. I'm going to do a quick tuning. How's everybody doing today? I don't even have my chat open, but I'm going to start right now. All right, I think we're ready. Clouds part, I feel the sun. Moments I have missed so much. Light breezes touch. Time slows down, we're back to now. I am not alone. We are not alone. 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 All right. How's everybody doing? I'm gonna switch to the next song. This one's called White Horse Chill. All right, I'm going to switch back to Uke. Once again, my name is TVMA. I am from SoCal. I'm happy to be here opening for Rage, which is like a pretty cool film. I've already seen it. Not to brag, but you know. So yeah, I am originally from Southern California. I live here and I'm from here. I feel like a rare breed because there's a lot of people move here and it's very interesting. As you can tell, I am an acoustic electronic artist. I also go by the pronouns of they, them. It's very important. Do not view me as either gender. View me as an entity. Hold on. Let my spirit disappear from your eyes and sneeze so my head could stop ringing, so I could forget. 'Cause you won't love me, show me praise, formulas can't validate, I fade from you. Give me reason to pretend to your lives and cheers so I can make a connection, so I can say I matter. 'Cause you won't love me, show me praise, formulas can't validate, I fade from you. Let my spirit disappear from your eyes and sneeze so my head could stop ringing, so I could Thank you, everyone. I might just play a piece of this one so we could get the show going, but I'm going to play a little bit of one of my songs. It's unreleased. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and transition to the next part of our show. So stay tuned. Give me a moment to move things around and give myself a chair. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Or bye for the next minute or so. Hold on. This thing resized everything. Technology is sometimes like that. Alright. Last thing I need to do is make this go down. So, yeah. Alright, everyone. How are you all doing? So, this is Rage. The stream for the philosophical dance film. By Cellista and Jen. Ooh. Notes are everywhere. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute our Zoom call so we can all talk. Alright, so first I am going to introduce Cellista. So, alright. Cellista is an acclaimed American cellist and the artistic director of the performing arts company Juxtapositions. She is known for her multidisciplinary installations, which involve collaborations with artists across various media, and playing live performances in unconventional spaces that incorporate elements of classical music, theater, improvisation, and visual art across a range of genres, including pop, hip-hop, classical, and more. These performances often feature a carbon fiber cello and loop station. So, Cellista, why don't you go ahead and talk a little about this? So Rage is a multidisciplinary project that began with a book. Can you tell us a bit more about this project and how it became a dance film?
Yeah, so I started this project, I think in May, actually. And so it all sort of stems from a book called The Irrelevance of Power, which my company, Juxtapositions, published. And it's a book by my father, Dr. Frank Seeberger, who for 42 years was a professor of philosophy at the University of Denver. So I published his book for him, and then from there, I wanted to create a companion album to accompany the book and some of the themes of the book. And then because I just can't quit, I decided I wanted to direct a dance film. And it all came together with Rage. So Rage is just the album and it's the dance film.
Oh, yeah. Great, awesome. So next we're going to introduce Jennifer. Let me get my my mug on the screen. So, formerly a performance poet, Jennifer brings a literary and rhythmic fervor to her films, which incorporate animation, live action, and found footage. She has worked in solitude and with local musicians whose styles range from rap to classical and from folk to noise. Her work touches on themes of esoteric spiritual knowledge, female strength, and the juxtaposition between nature and technology. Welcome, Jen. How do I get you on the screen over here? I think you need to go ahead and talk a little.
Hello, I'm talking. Am I on?
Let me see if I could
Am I
get
muted?
this. I don't think so. I could hear you. I don't know. Let me see
I
if
can
I
hear
can.
myself. But I'm in the same room as myself, so.
She's
That's
right
very
here.
Response there.
If I could get you on the. Oh my God, there you are. Okay. So, you were a part of Rage's Foundation. Can you explain your role in editing and formatting the book, The Irrelevance of Power? What was your role in Rage?
Yes, so Cellista approached me in early this year about editing Dr. Seeberger's book. And I was excited about the project from the beginning because the book touches on a lot of themes that I think are really important these days, especially in the last 4 years, if you know what I mean. And so I copy edited the book. I edited for clarity and style, and I also formatted the book and placed the illustrations, created the some of the text, designed the book, and then I also designed the cover around Eddie Cola's wonderful piece, which is also, of course, the album cover.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like right now is a good time to be releasing something like this, especially because it's like, it's like really daring in a way. Like, it's definitely not something you would it's something against like our administration in a way right now, like where it's not conventional and what women are expected to like make at a time like this, if you know what I mean. Sorry, I'm all tongue-tied. So what other projects have you and Cellista worked on together?
So Cellista and I have been working together for about, what would you say, 5 years, something like that, a long time. And our first big project together was called Finding San Jose, and it was a site-specific installation that was in Japantown that incorporated film, like immersive film and dance, and some of the dancers that you'll see tonight were involved. And then and then just last year we had another installation that was dance and film together called Transfigurations that with this year's events pivoted to a live stream event. And then in between there, we've done a lot of smaller films together, including Wants, which was a bit of a reaction to things that happened in early 2017. There were some tragedies, and of course our current president came into our lives, and so we've been working together for quite some time. And Rage is the latest collaboration between us.
Yeah, I didn't know that you both worked on Transfigurations together. That's dope. All right, so I think it's time for me to show the entire cast. Hi, everyone. Oh,
Hi.
yeah.
Hi.
You all excited to finally see this all come to fruition?
Super excited.
So
excited.
I love hearing all those voices at once. Perfect. So, next, I'm going to play the film. So I'm going to go ahead and transition to that shortly. Yeah, I hope everybody's excited to see it. So yeah, give me one moment and I'll pull the film up.
All right, we're back. Wow, what a whirlwind. That was beautiful. I am like so impressed with the different types of body movement styles, and like everybody's wardrobe was on point. Yeah, it was incredibly powerful. And I feel honored to be able to host something like this because it's like beyond talent. I'm gonna bring everybody back right now. Get this Zoom stuff sorted out. If everybody could all unmute. Hey all, how's it going? Cellista, you said that you wanted to facilitate the next part?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I wouldn't mind kind of decompressing with my film editor, Jen Gigantino, for a second, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Jen. Art baby.
I know, it's so
Oh
beautiful.
God, I don't have it on. There we go. It was on my end, so sorry about that. Go ahead.
Okay. So Jen and I just had like a massive art baby.
A huge hulked out art baby.
I know. I think I'm the father. Thank you so much for being a part of the process. I mean, you've been a big part of my process since I think 2016 when we did the Olivier Mission Quartet for the End of Time. You did a lot of work for me with that. And then I think we've really just formulated a language that we both understand that allows us to sort of, we never get together. We always do this over email or text.
Yeah.
I feel really lucky.
Yeah, I know, right? Like I feel lucky too that we see eye to eye on so much of this stuff.
I know. It's so crazy.
Yeah. I don't recall a single time when I kind of went off the rails on something and you were like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, I don't do that. Not you. But it's so interesting because like Jen and I will, usually how these things start is like I've created some sort of music and from there I'm like, I want to film. And then I'll write a treatment. And then Jen from there is, you know, either I'll go and get found footage or we'll just kind of figure it out and conceptualize, but like it's weird. And I think we just have a really nice process that like, please don't break up with me ever.
I won't.
Who would, because I can text Jen at very random hours with like a random, like, you know, I think months ago, I was like, I really want like a swarm of insects or flies. And this was like before Pence. So maybe I conjured that fly, but you're welcome.
we could take credit for it. I don't mind.
The debate. He should have been a moderator. So yeah, I just feel really lucky to have you part of my process because you're such a big part of the process. So do you want to tell people your website?
Yes, my website is at jennifergigantino.com. And can they see my name on this?
Yeah.
Yes, again. So yeah, if you see my name under my little picture there, it's just that.com and no space.
Hire this woman. She knows what she's doing. It's effortless, her work. And I just quickly, I want to welcome all of my collaborators and I'd like to introduce a few of them. So just to start off, I'd like to introduce Sarah Patterson. So Sarah Patterson is a classical ballet dancer based in San Jose. And from a young age, she's always embraced the arts and movement. And she says music and soaring have always been her most compelling draws. And she often feels very strongly towards certain composers and works, and she enjoys communications, psychology, and recently philosophy. And Sarah, it's great to have you. Thanks so much. Do you want to?
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I'm so excited I could be part of this project.
I know, it's so crazy. And it's like, I feel like I met you by chance because I had contacted the new ballet school in San Jose, requesting a dancer. And your mom, your mom replied to me. Do you want to share this story?
Sure. So I had actually heard of your name a few years ago. I think, I don't know which project it was, but you had used another one of our dancers for one of your projects. And I had heard about Cellista and all the neat things that you were doing. So I was already a little bit in awe with your work before going into this project. But you were in contact with my mom for choosing a dancer for this film. And you were, when you started talking a little bit more about the film, my mom was just flabbergasted with the similarity of this project's interests with mine. And so she said, oh my gosh, Sarah, you have to read what this is about. And then I actually contacted you. I said, hi, I love you, here are my credentials. If I could interview you, do anything I can to be involved in this, I would love to. And then Cellista, gratefully, she asked me to do interviews for some of the artists and for some of the dancers, which I uploaded on my podcast, Grace and Grit. We used for some other websites. So that was really exciting, just getting, for me personally, getting to be introduced to such a wide range of dancers and styles and platforms, and really just the arts in general. So that was really exciting. And then you emailed me a few weeks ago and sent me the clip of the song, and I fell in love with it. I absolutely loved it. I think strings too, because I believe you were playing in that piece as well. And I just, every night before I'd go to bed, I would just listen to it. And that's how I just listen to it, falling asleep, thinking about it, wake up thinking about it. But yeah, I filmed it and I just really enjoyed doing that and getting to be part of this collab.
That's rad. I'm so happy you are a part of it. And what a wonderful chance, to meet like this.
Right.
Two artists who are, we're both into working across disciplines. And I do think that's pretty rare. Maybe not in this Zoom room right now, but it's, yeah. I'm lucky to have met you and worked with you, and your work was gorgeous. So thank you
so much.
And then I just want to introduce Jess Coble, who's my dear friend, and I've known you how long now? Oh my God.
Some years. Yeah, we've definitely had some shows. Definitely pulled together some pretty beautiful and thoughtful performances, I like to think.
I think so. I think we've had a pretty good track record of also making some art babies that, and we've gotten some great reviews.
Oh, yeah. It's funny sometimes. Somebody can see what you're doing, or what somebody sees and perceives as what's happening isn't necessarily always exactly what's.
Yeah, but I think we've had a lot of opportunity to get to know each other in our process. I think in part due to the noise scene. I think I first met you for NorCal Noise. Is that
I think it was actually at the Luggage Store Gallery in San Fran as a preview day for NorCal Noise Fest 2019, or maybe 2018.
I think 2018. And yeah, we were kind of like instant friends, which is like, it's nice. It's cool because I think we hit it off like right off the bat. And just to talk a little bit about you, I'm just going to share your bio a little bit.
Yep.
But Jess specializes in experimental avant-garde and cathartic expression, and your project, the Zero Collective, is an ever-evolving, expanding roster of artists that have collectively been releasing an original composition every damn day since November 22nd, 2011.
Yeah. I'm almost at the 9-year mark. I believe yesterday was 3,250, but it might have been 3,350, honestly. I kind of have to look at the number to remember, to be honest.
Oh my God. Yeah, when you hit that decade mark, do you have anything planned?
I'm kind of thinking about taking the project in kind of an Ouroboros kind of direction of just going back to the beginning and creating a video composition to accompany the tracks one day at a time. And so at the end of 2 decades, I'll have a video piece for every track that I'll have created already. And then I don't know, there's a conceptualization of doing a semi-sound generated VR experience to go along with each day, but it's just a matter of getting a smooth enough Unity platform in place.
Yeah, well, you definitely keep yourself busy. So I also feel, I just feel like with everyone here, I feel so lucky and fortunate to have amazing collaborators who we are working, via distance. Like this, all of this happens over email or text or whatever. It's pretty unique kind of thing. I also want to welcome so Ibuki Kiramochi created
Hi.
my dance piece for Shame, and we've never actually met.
Right. Yeah, so actually, yeah, we haven't met each other in person. I have known you since the beginning of this pandemic.
So it was good for something.
Yes, definitely. So I watched your live streaming show a few months ago. So that was the first time to listen to your music and see your video artworks. So then I fell in love with your music immediately. So
Oh,
it's very exquisite, and the beauty in the darkness. I could feel the Buto spirit in your gorgeous music. I really loved it.
I feel really lucky. I think the first time I encountered your work, actually, I think I saw you on the cover of LA Weekly.
Oh, really? Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and so, but then you reached out over, I had that live stream for Highways Performance Space, which is based
Yes.
in Monica, which is actually where my Transfigurations tour was supposed to be headed before the pandemic.
Mhm.
They ended up live streaming portions of it, and then you reached out, and I was so happy to meet you. Your movement is so, it's so inward. It just feels like a really good fit for my music. So I think they're good pairing. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. So yeah, I was thinking that I wanted to collaborate with you someday. So, but it was a great honor to receive this collaboration invitation from you. So when I saw this project and the theme, I was totally impressed. So I'm so happy to participate at this amazing project. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I mean, that makes me really happy that you're happy. There's always a little bit of apprehension, I would say, when you release something finally, because I think Jen and I have been sitting with this project since February, and it's grown, and so it's very surreal to be watching the whole thing with people, and we're not just like editing and like, it's real, it's here. So thank you. It was wonderful to see your movement with Shame, which is the track that you performed too.
Thank you.
And then next, I'm so excited. So I want to introduce Brietta. Brietta, it's so good to see you today.
Good to see you too.
We're not in a pit, we're just on Zoom.
Yeah. Feel good.
There's more room for us. But just quickly, so Brietta's a sought after percussionist, and I met her when we were both playing cabaret at City Lights Theater in San Jose. So we sat together in some very short skirts playing some German mpa music for a few weeks together. We got to know each other. You've done a lot. You've garnered 2 consecutive performance fellowships at NEF North, right? The summer festival. And you've performed a lot of world premieres. And you're also the artistic director of the Contemporary Commissions Project, which is a new music endeavor to commission and premiere contemporary chamber music in the Bay Area. You do a lot. It's really good to work with you, even if from afar. So do you want to talk a little bit about your process for creating, you got the title track, You Got Rage?
Yeah, so the chapter that you gave me to respond to was What is a Riot? And I read that, and this was right around the same time as the protests for George Floyd's murder were starting to garner a lot of attention. And the Black Lives Matter movement was, I mean, it wasn't just in Minnesota. It was becoming bigger and bigger, and it wasn't going away. And there was a lot of media and administration and politicians claiming it to be riots and just violence. And that really like tied in with the chapter of talking about what is a riot. Well, it depends on who's naming it that. Is it a riot? Is it a movement? Is it a protest? So that was like right around the same time that happened. And it really connected it to the world for me. But my process for composing it, really, I read it and then I kind of let it marinate in my mind for a few days. And then I had a rough plan and was about to record, and then I decided I didn't want to do that. And so I just pulled out a bunch of like Super Bowl mallets and special effects and sat on the floor and like pulled sounds out of a drum.
It's good because for me, just when I first received the track, it sounds so animalistic, I suppose, very like inner. I think in some ways it's very similar to Butoh dancing. It's sort of an inner gesture that's coming out. And so it was like, I remember getting it and just thinking like, this is rage. It's the kind of thing that just emanates from within something already like fragmented and fractured and wells up and seeps into everything we know. So I just thought it was like the perfect title track. So thank you.
Thank you.
I always just get it. And speaking of someone who seems to just get me constantly, my good friend for many years now, Lauren Baines, who actually performed on Brietta's track Rage. And I've just known you for so long at this point. I feel like we're a big part of each other's lives, and it's wonderful. You've made me cry so many times with it feels surreal because I'll envision something and I'll work with you and I'll see the finished product later, and it's like you were always with me in my mind. And I think that's really rare and really, really special.
Yeah, so thank you. It's a similar process for me. And like you've said, I think I was going back and trying to think, it was 2014 or 2015 that we were first introduced through a mutual friend who kind of said, you should get to know each other. And they were very right. And it's been really interesting, not just with this project, but others that we've done, how just from a few words, a few prompts, a little conversation, we really understand the core of what we're both looking to pull out of a piece, and it just emerges so naturally. And I really appreciate the space that you give too. I think that's part of it, that I get to find myself in it, and kind of through that we find each other.
I think so, because I think there's a commonality to our vision, and that's what's resonating. And that's why I think I got this technique of working with other artists from Sherry Lakey, who runs Anno Domini Gallery in San Jose. And she's always saying like, you don't want to task anyone. You don't want to task your artists. You don't want to task the collaborators. It's the strength of your vision that should pull it together. So if the vision's strong enough, you can get out of the way. Like it should guide. And I feel like with you, that becomes very, very present.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I have a trio of really cool people coming up. So I would like to introduce Janesta. So Janesta is a multidisciplinary artist invoking several mediums in their work, including dance, film, collage, art, and poetry. Self-identified as gender fluid, queer, Black, alien, I love you. Janesta seeks to center Black stories, voices in their work outside of the gaze of colonialism and patriarchy. Through their work, they push to inspire transformation and healing of people of color and Black bodies through storytelling, poetry, and envisioning a world where Black individuals can exist in their own skin. You are an Oakland resident and you love to cook for your chosen family. And I'm so happy to be working with you again.
Same. It's always a pleasure.
It was probably in my living room when we were about to go on tour for Transfigurations, I think. And then COVID kind of happened.
Sorry, you went out a little bit. Could you repeat that last little part?
Sure. I think the last time I saw you was in my living room when we for Transfigurations for our tour, and Brietta was there too.
Yes.
And there was this like weird plague thing that kind of upended what we were doing.
Right. Getting ready to, actually do a live show of Transfigurations and so to speak. But then I think a couple months later, you had reached out about wanting to show Transfigurations through film. And I was really excited to work with you on that. And I was really excited to work with you again, also with this project. So
yeah, because you sent me too, because you provide the open
close
our film. And so just really quickly, I want to introduce a really good friend, Joshua Ickben. Josh.
Hey.
It's really good
Congrats,
to see you.
everybody. Good to see you too.
I miss you. Can I read the bio I wrote you that's more about me?
Of course you can. You wrote it.
So Josh and I met in 2012 when I was a lowly master's student in cello performance at San Francisco State. And you were an undergraduate. You did guitar?
I don't know. That department was all over the place. I was just hanging out.
We became friends because of our shared love of the Beach Boys and the Ramones, and we formed a band called Joey Ramone after our very favorite Ramone. You work as a guitarist and arranger, and you've performed with Grammy Award-winning band Fantastic Negrito, and you've even worked with SF Symphony's Michael Tilson Thomas. That's very impressive.
That was a thing. Oh.
So this December, Josh and I are actually releasing an EP, and it's just a bunch of covers of our favorite songs. But also in December, we are heading to Los Angeles to record my next album called Pariah at East West Studios. So this is the same place where a lot of our favorite songs were recorded. So I'm really excited.
Rock and roll. I like how my bio was also a promo.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Your website.
What'd you say?
Where's your website?
Oh, it's coming.
Uh-huh. Well, it's so good to have you be a part of this project.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your track? Because it's a little different from everyone else's in terms of how it happened.
Yeah, that track that Freya wanted to use is actually a little older. I recorded that in like 2015 while I was drunk in my kitchen. And I forgot how Freya got a hold of it. I think she asked me if I ever rapped before, and I had that track. I wasn't sure why. I was like, oh, does Gig Salad want like a rapping duo? Or so I sent you that track, and I guess you've just had it ever since. And when you told me about this project, I was excited about it. And you were like, oh, I want to use that track that you sent me. And I didn't know what you were talking about. So I had to look it back up, and I was like, oh, you want that? Okay, great. But I guess I did record that. I think it was probably around the time of, I think it was Eric Garner's killing. And it was all over national news. It was everywhere. I mean, it was just part of the whole trend that unfortunately we see now of kind of traumatic events being spread widely and for everybody to see. And that informed some of the lines that I rapped, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I think it was appropriate that it went with the consumption part, because definitely it was kind of a reflection of what you believe is not what you see, especially in maybe at this time in our society, in fact, in the globe. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I think we've had a lot of like one-on-one conversations about just different inequities in the world and how we confront them as artists and how to do it. And it's a tricky problem and lots of gradients.
Right.
But I'm really happy that you're such a big part of my life, and it makes me just thrilled that your work can be on this album.
Thank you, Freya.
Thank you.
Big hearts for you and to everybody. Thank you.
And I want to introduce PC Munoz, and I think we've met each other once in passing, but I feel like we know each other somehow. And I'm just gonna like go through your very epic bio. But PC is a recording artist, musician, and writer based in San Francisco. His singular compositional and performing style bridges the gap between the insistent rhythms of funk, jazz-informed improvisation, pop songs, and more. His body of work includes recordings and writings across multiple mediums, from Grammy-nominated contemporary classical music to CMJ charting funk songs and modern dance multimedia productions. In 2018, he launched a new creative and educational initiative called Right Starter with our very good friend and award-winning rapper, Damone Carter, or Dem1. PC's work has been praised by NPR, performing songwriter, electronic musician, Downbeat, and the Wall Street Journal. And there's a lot more too. But PC, it's so good to have you here. Thank you.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me in this project.
Thank you. I think it's weird that we've never really met or hung out.
I think we have. We've known each other since the 12th century.
Evidently.
Yeah, when you were Hildegard and I was a simple friar. And we kept in touch over the centuries.
I believe so.
And here we are.
Time during the clock at D'Orsay. I think, how did I first encounter you? Was it through Damone? We have a mutual friend, Damone Carter. And I
might have been Damone, might have been the Academy. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so do you want to talk a little bit about your work with the Academy? Just briefly?
Sure, yeah. Lucky I was a board member for a number of years, and I was the co-chair of the education committee. We're talking about the Recording Academy, the Grammys, which is a great organization which does a lot more than an awards show, as you know, Freya.
They do so much. I mean, I guess I stepped into your role because now I'm co-chair for education committee.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I love the Recording Academy, and I love the work we do. I think it's so much more than the Grammys. It's music cares, it's the advocacy, it's so much more.
So much more, and so many people don't know about that piece of it.
Yeah, the cool thing with music cares is that it provides benefits and care for people who are not Recording Academy members, which is so inclusive.
You can be a musician of any kind, and you have a safety net through music cares. It's a great thing.
Yeah, well, just to ask, what was it like to see your video by Janesta?
It was suspenseful, as I've been wondering. And then it was really satisfying. It was super cool. The visuals were amazing. It was also strangely like giddy because of the blue and red. It reminded me, as I'm old enough, that's the way I first encountered 3D. Was in these simple little books with the blue and the red. Yeah. And so it was bringing me back to that quite a bit, actually, throughout the whole film.
That's really
cool. Yeah, so I liked that aspect of it quite a bit.
And it's funny because, a lot of the people here, the collaborators between musicians and dancers, you've never met before.
Never met Janesta.
Yeah, and Janesta's just in Oakland.
Thank you for your work. It's beautiful.
For your work.
When you were putting together your dance sequence, what was your process for that? Because I gave you a few prompts, but I generally try to stay back. So what was it like to encounter PC's music?
Oh, it was really, it was interesting because I think but I hadn't read any of the book or any of the chapters. And so Really, as a dancer, part of my joy is really getting to, yeah, like mime and communicate what the music is saying. So yeah, it was really fun to play with the themes and the prompts and, you know, against what's happening currently. It was really fun and exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, and you also worked with Josh's track. And also, what was that like for you? Because you have two, you're like the bookends, basically. Ooh, we're stuck, no audio. That's okay.
Okay, sorry. I missed that whole last thing you said.
That's okay. I was just asking, what was it like to work with Josh's track?
The consumption track or the riot track?
The consumption.
Oh, it was really.
She thinks it was really amazing, Josh, and that she appreciated your kitchen wraps.
I guess like what consumption means. And I guess during that time, of course, that's when a lot of the uprising was happening and people were talking about looters, and kind of like it was interesting to play with the idea and what consumption is in the context of that, in the context of a place with a history of consuming people. Like, what can you consume and what's okay to consume, and playing with that was interesting.
Yeah, because it was a really, I think, I love that you open and close this film. And I was thinking with consumption, there's something about consumption itself that it kind of encloses your whole existence, right? This idea of needing to buy things, of being totally embedded in things. That's just, I feel that you related it well through your dance. I just want to introduce, speaking of enclosure, I want to introduce Dustin Schultz very quickly. Dustin is a multi-instrumentalist whose specialties are analog and digital synthesis and sax. His work has been featured in countless art installations around the US, and his skills as a musician have seen him brought into a touring band for the band Ogre. Dustin is also a production manager for the more widely known band Skinny Puppy. And because of Dustin's unique blend of audio-visual skills, he's been a key part of pushing Skinny Puppy's immersive live shows to the next level. Hey, Dustin.
Hi, Freya.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I just realized while we were doing that that this is the most in-person meeting we've had so far.
It is. I think
I've only had phone conversations with you, so.
We had like one phone conversation, which was like facilitated by my dear friend Hillary Whitmore.
Yes, dear friend of mine as well.
She's mine. Just introduce her, but Hillary Whitmore is a Portland, Oregon-based opera singer, performance and body suspension artist. She's a graduate of Trinity College of Music in London. She loves cross arts collaboration, boundary-pushing performance art, and performing works by new and emerging composers. She and I have been inseparable since 2018, 17, 18, because we worked on
it hasn't even been that long. It's been like a year and a half, which is outrageous and gross about how inseparable we've been in that time period, I feel.
So weird. We went on tour. We did Transfigurations on tour with Jess also.
With Jess also.
And you always give me a place to crash in Portland where you live. And you really, really, really love to remind me that I'm not the only cellist in existence. So thank you.
True. There have been previously and will be again other cellists. I'm sorry. Every time she talks about other singers now, I'm like, oh, really? Okay.
It's just upsetting to think that you would ever want or need another cellist, but you do you. So do you and Dustin just want to talk a little bit about your track and how, because the process of how Dustin composed this is really, really cool.
Yeah, it was a really, so I've met Dustin man, was it like 2010, Dustin, I think?
I believe so. Yeah, around.
Yeah, it was 2010 or maybe early 2011. And we were introduced on a collaborative piece with a performance troupe called Core. And that was for a Las Vegas show. And we connected through doing some works with Core and then became close friends and then started working on music together. And that process brought me to the Bay Area and ultimately where I spent 5 years of time and getting the opportunity to collaborate with Dustin and other artists as well. And now I'm back up here, and it's really cool to see this come full circle because I love this piece of music. It was a hard process to learn, you know, as a classical singer. This is was a totally different collaborative process for me. But the piece is so stunning, and it's something that I really enjoy singing. And the creation process that Dustin created for that is remarkable. And I'm just really happy to be part of it and really honored to be part of this and to have had the chance to see Josie interpret the work. Josie was part of the tour we did with Jess and yourself for Transfigurations as well. And it was cool to see him interpret a different piece. And I just thought his interpretation of it was stunning. And so it's been really cool. But yeah, Dustin, tell them about this piece because I'm sure that when I try and talk about it, I sound like a fool. So, so please give some insight into the process.
Yeah, so Hillary and I, when we were working on this piece, putting it together, we had a number of sit-down sessions. And actually during those sit-down sessions, I actually just sat down and started recording Hillary singing. She at the time, she was putting together a recital and had prepared a whole bunch of music. And I had recorded just playing around essentially while we were together, a bunch of this music. And to compose this piece, I actually cut her vocal performances into some insane number of samples. I think it ended up being 530 something. Yeah, something like that.
587 syllables.
It was definitely in the 500s somewhere. And I actually composed the piece using those sample fragments. So I essentially split those performances syllable by syllable and then used them to compose the rest of the work along with the electronics part. Yeah, it was really an interesting process because at the end of that, I essentially brought that back to Hillary and said, Hillary, do you think you can sing this? And that was quite a stretch because a lot of that became, you know, like all of the words were jarbled together. They weren't even words anymore. And Hillary, like a champ, really put it together and actually was able to put it all together and sing back that part that I constructed from recordings that I had made of her singing. So it was a really interesting process, the whole thing.
Yeah, I think the challenge for me was, you know, trying to emulate what sounded like a digitally created thing because it was these fragments of, I think it was 8 songs in 4 or 5 different languages. So we're talking about syllables in many different languages. And yeah, how to get that to sound as closely as it could to the disjointed feeling that it had as it was split up like that. That was the biggest challenge. And then trying to memorize that or commit that to memory. And it was a mission, but we, you know, I think we finally got this pacing down and figured out as well, not only in the recording process and the performance process, but also when we were then trying to do the piece live or starting to do the piece live, we had to have a whole other kind of experience in how to work with each other like that in a live setting again, and how to make it flow, because it is a back and forth of following one another back and forth.
For sure. So. It was definitely a live piece where we had to be really feeling each other to do so.
Yeah, I mean, just truly almost feeling someone's breath in that sense, and being able to anticipate that breath and where it would go, because that, like, my breath or his breath were the only sign that we had that we were moving into the next section. So it was such a cool process. And I'm so thrilled to have been part of that. And then to be able to translate it here is really amazing.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you very generously lent this to the project, Dustin. And Hillary for facilitating that. And it's funny you talk about you know, just as performers, we are so used to working as ensembles and working in the same room. So tonight, I think for a lot of us, we've all worked together without actually being in the same room. So for those of you who have your collaborator here, do you have any questions for them? Like Lauren, do you have any questions for Brietta?
Sure. Hi.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Sorry?
It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. Yes. For me, I actually really took your work as this whole environment that I was navigating and being somewhat responsive to. But for me, there was a lot of texture too that I was finding in it. I'm just curious for you if that's an approach that you take. I know you've already shared a little bit about how this particular score was composed, but for you, is there texture that you're imagining as you're creating these sonic landscapes?
I suppose yes, but I don't know if I can articulate exactly what it is in my mind. But yeah, I mean, the way I thought about this was all of the feelings and the turmoil and the problems have been like bubbling and bubbling, and they're going to explode, but they're not quite there yet. And I tried to pull that sound out of it and give that sort of emotion, if that makes sense.
It does. I mean, for me, it translated, right? And for me, there was a certain precarity to all of it that is like this rumbling that you're just waiting for that explosion and it's not quite there. So there's a dis-ease.
And your piece was stunning. I loved it.
Thank you. I really love working with yours. So hopefully this is the first.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, Sarah, I mean, in some ways we work together just by setting up these interviews and sharing information about the project, and you talked a little bit about your process of maybe listening to the track before bed, but when you're putting movement to dance, usually you would work with the composer a little more extensively, I would think, right? So
Yeah.
like to sort of be, there's like a divide almost, not like a bad one, but what was it like for you?
Well, actually, I think there was perhaps even more of a connection between you and I versus the other music that I've danced to. Being a classical ballet dancer, the most of the music that we listen to are, composed and produced by people who, aren't here anymore. And being able to work on something that was happening at the same time was uh, really kind of electrifying in a new way, and being able to be really part of the process and in that moment was something that I really enjoyed. When I heard your music, I think for me, ballet, the reason why I first started doing it was because my greatest dream has been to fly, and I felt like ballet was the closest I could get to that. And the music, especially the music that you created, with your cello and with the strings, and it has a soaring quality that just, it makes me want to use my arms and express, and it's very fluid, I feel, which is also interesting when combining that aspect to the idea and the excerpt that we read. I got the book I think a week ago, so I started reading that passage a little bit. But that was a really, really neat process. And then I think you were also asking about how I interpret the music through my body with that. In the beginning, I normally, when I first hear music, I see many dancers on a stage dancing together, and most of the time it's arms and upper body, just because that's something that I feel the most expression from. So that's how it first started out, and then I ended up just playing it and just kind of improvising, and the whole piece almost was improvised. I did a many different takes and different improvisations, and those were the ones that I sent to you that I thought would probably be most fitting for the piece. But it's exciting to be able to work on something that's I can improvise and that I can just hear and dance to how my body feels rather than following a choreography that's been created like 200 years ago for one specific dancer. That's been something really new and kind of challenging on this project, but that I've really enjoyed working with.
Yeah, that's something I can definitely relate to because I think PC, what is your background? You have your classical chops, a lot of classical chops, but are you a recovering classical musician like me?
No, I do I do a lot of work in contemporary classical music, and that's because of my work with Jean-Jean Renaud.
Oh,
So
talk a little bit about that work because that's incredible. Those
yeah,
projects are awesome.
yeah, cellists have been a big part of my life somehow. I was in a band with Zoe Keating in the 90s,
Oh,
and
that's
then
right.
in the 2000s, I was started to work with Jean Renaud, who's the cellist in Kronos Quartet for a long time, and she went solo, and I got involved with her career at that point. And then another guy named Alex Kelly and Cellista as well. But yeah, so I've done a bunch of work in that, but but the music I make for the most part has a lot of grounding in funk and also in avant-garde and jazz.
Yeah, and I think that's like especially why I was very drawn to you and your work because I did notice so much variety. And I feel like you, like me, you try to find a genre or a medium or something that just tells a story. So you're not inhibited by like a background or formal training, but you're really storytelling. And for me, it's always been like, well, what best represents this character or this narrative? And sometimes it's not even music, it's like visual art or it's dance. Like working with Ibuki, who I just got to meet, it just feels incredible to have those inner expressions translated into different gestures, whether they be movements or they be art or whatever they are.
Right, or the written word or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Yeah, big
And
believer in that.
too, they can all be together.
Yeah.
So it's always exciting to me because I feel like right now in this room, there are so many artists who are willing to cross borders and to experiment and to try different disciplines and to listen. And I feel like that's why artists are such great truth sayers, right, for a society or for a community, because we are able to cross those borders in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
Really lucky.
With that said, when are you thinking of wrapping up? Because we're at the 45 mark now.
Yeah, so I just really like before we close, I just want to thank all my collaborators who are here tonight. Thank you so much for contributing to Rage and interpreting this work and making it a reality. I appreciate you. I appreciate your artistry. I appreciate your time. And time is the biggest gift an artist can give to someone. So thank you. I want to thank TVMA for handling things and hosting and dealing with logistics. You're fucking awesome. And I also would love to remind you that this is a fundraiser, and it's a fundraiser for Silicon Valley Debug, which is an organization based in San Jose. And Silicon Valley Debug is a community organizing, advocacy, and multimedia storytelling organization. And they've been a platform for Silicon Valley's diverse communities to impact political, cultural, and social landscapes of the region, while also becoming a nationally recognized model for community-based justice work. So tonight, if you could please head over to SV Debug's site and make a donation, or you can head over to cellista.bandcamp.com, buy my album. 100% of the proceeds go to SV Debug. And just one thing before we officially close. I have one request. So I'd like to ask my colleagues here tonight in the audience to share with me a wish, a hope, or a dream for the place that you call home. And do know that I do use these prompts to fuel all of my projects, and that these wishes are an important part of my process. And the audience can definitely enter their wishes, dreams, or hopes in the chat box. But I'll just go in order, but let's start with Jennifer Gigantino.
I still haven't figured out how to unmute Zoom efficiently. So. My wish for the place I call home is that people is that everyone would treat each other with a modicum of respect and aim towards an atmosphere of collaboration rather than an atmosphere of competition.
Lovely. Sarah.
I definitely agree with Jennifer Gigantino on that aspect as well. I think something else too is I hope that everybody can find their idea that they have and use their voice to talk about it, kind of how like we've done in this project.
Beautiful. Hey, Brietta.
I think my hope for the place that I call home is that everyone can feel safe, you know, whether that's from the pandemic or minorities who don't feel safe from the police, just that we can get to a point where everyone can feel safe in their home.
That's great. Josh.
My wish for my home is, I guess I'll say the word restore. So I hope that we can all practice restorative justice, restorative history, and you know, I'm just, you know, just to agree with everybody, you know, just honor each other as well.
Yeah. Ibuki.
My hope is, yeah, this is like a crazy time right now. So I'm hoping that everybody's in health, you know, taking care of yourself and don't forget to treat yourself, you know, then we are artists can do, you know, creation, can make creation. Yeah, every day I feel that we are just being tested how we can send messages to people through this crazy time. So I'm hoping this crazy time is gonna finish soon. So yeah, send the love to all of you guys.
Thank you. Beautiful. Jess.
I wish for clarity to the air that we breathe and a sense of peace, including the words that we speak.
I love it. Lauren.
These are really beautiful sentiments. I want to echo all of them, but I'll try to find a new way of saying it. I hope that we see and celebrate the humanity in each other and just trust the gifts that we have and can bring to create that community.
I love it. Janesta. Hey, Dustin, why don't you go?
My wish is that we can all have enough patience and empathy to understand, even just for a moment, those who are most different from us.
Beautiful. Hillary.
Yeah, I hope that I also reflect that. I hope that we can have compassion for one another and the realization that our experiences are different, and that we honor those differences, and that we engage and that we fucking vote and that we use our voices to speak up for things that are important, and that we use our voices to stand up for those whose voices aren't often heard and to elevate their voices to be heard.
Yeah, that's great. PC.
My wish for the great state of California is a ceasefire in every sense of the word.
Yes, that's perfect. That's so perfect. TV, MA, what is your wish?
My wish is for to reduce the acceleration of gentrification in the Los Angeles area, and that people who come here to live their dreams realize who is from here, and that we can possibly put a stop to the rise in homelessness in the LA area.
That's perfect. Perfect. So my wish is it's a sort of Janesta, are you back?
Yeah, I know everyone kind of had so many good things. My wish is patience with ourselves and others.
Okay, I'm just gonna go, despite the possibility of a interjection. My wish is one that I keep stating, I think, to maybe remind myself, but I do want to remind myself, and I wish for my home. I just want to trust the process and allow things to happen as they happen, but keep my community close. And I think that's it for tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of Rage, for watching Rage, for having Rage, because Rage is a powerful thing. And yeah, if you want to support me, these artists, head to cellista.bandcamp.com, purchase the album, and 100% of the proceeds go to Silicon Valley Debug. And thank you again for being here tonight. You're all wonderful. Sleep tight. Keep safe. Bye.